Hey everyone, this is Greeny Snipes. Here's a detailed sketch of how many people liked my last video. Motherfucker! So just like any other vlog, this is my opinion, and I'm not forcing anyone to agree with it. My last couple of videos, people didn't exactly like, they didn't agree with it, and that's fine. I encourage you, if you have a different opinion, put it in the comment section or leave a video response, and I'd love to hear your opinion. Now with that out of the way, first topic for today's video is the Leafs. Although they were shaky at the end of the game, the Leafs still won 5-4 over the Ottawa Senators, their third straight win. With the win, it moves them within 3 points of Montreal for the conference lead. Yeah, you heard that right. Eastern Conference lead. 3 points behind. Pretty impressive for a team who finished in the bottom 5 in the Eastern Conference last year. And if it wasn't for that second half collapse, they probably would have made the playoffs. Now the Leafs are playing the second half of back-to-back games. They're playing a team who they've struggled against. And I can't stress that enough. They haven't beaten Boston in quite some time. And some of the results that they lose by are pretty bad. 4 or more goals multiple times. But I'm confident tonight the Leafs have a very good chance at winning their 4th straight. And here's why. Boston's coming into the game losers of 2 straight. They lost against Montreal, who currently have first place in the East. They are 2 points ahead of Boston for the division and conference lead. And then 2 days after the Montreal game, Boston played a struggling Washington Capitals team. And not only did they lose the game, in overtime by the way, they lost by blowing a 3-0 lead. It's never a confidence booster when you lose. It's never a confidence booster when you lose to a bad team. When you lose to a bad team, after you have a 3-0 lead, you gotta think spirits are down in the dressing room. Moving on to the second topic of the video, should visors be mandatory in the NHL? Now, after getting hit in the face with a slap shot from Flyers defenseman Kimmo Timonen on March 5th, doctors are optimistic that Rangers defenseman Mark Stahl is going to make a full recovery. This is great to hear, and I, along with all of you, I hope, are praying that this is in fact true and he will in fact make a full recovery. But that begs the question, should visors be mandatory in the NHL? Every time you see an incident like this, it always convinces more and more people that visors should not be an option, but rather just part of everyone's equipment. So like I said, right now visors are not mandatory. They are a personal choice, and many players do in fact wear visors. However, some players find it uncomfortable, which is strange because throughout their junior career, at some point, every player has worn a visor or a cage, a full cage. So for any player to call it uncomfortable is a bit strange. But nevertheless, I believe visors should not be mandatory. And here's why. So despite the injury that Mark Stahl suffered, or injuries like Chris Pronger or Brian Berard's injury to the eye with a high stick, I still don't think the league should make it mandatory for every single player to wear. So the reason is, players, when they reach the NHL, they've got to look out for themselves. Now they already have a lot of padding pretty much everywhere. The only real equipment that's not mandatory right now is a mouth guard. And it would be strange to see if somebody suffers another injury to the mouth, that the league would say mouth guards are mandatory just because people lose teeth. So for fluke kind of play, like the slap shot to the face or high stick, none of these are intentional. And these kind of fluke plays almost never happen. They happen about as often as seeing a fighter score a hat trick. So to mandate an equipment change because of such rare events, I think is ridiculous. Let me know what you think, if visors should be mandatory or not. Final topic of the video is, will the Chicago Blackhawks ever lose? Point getters in 24 straight games to start this season, and a total of 30 games if you go back to last year. Last night against the Colorado Avalanche, the Chicago Blackhawks pulled off an incredible third period comeback to defeat the Avalanche and extend their point streak to 24 games, and extend their overall unbeaten streak to 30 games if you date back to last year. They are moving very close to the 1979-1980 Philadelphia Flyers, who went 35 straight games where they registered at least 1 point. So back to the question, will the Blackhawks ever lose? Of course they will lose this season at some point, but when? Their next 5 games include Avalanche, Oilers, Columbus Blue Jackets, Dallas, and the Avalanche again. All 5 of these are easily winnable games, if not at least games where you can earn at least a point, especially this team. So this streak easily could last to the end of the week and maybe even next week. The only issue is Patrick Sharp announced today that he is out 2 to 3 weeks with an injury. Of course, Patrick Sharp is an important part of the Hawks offense, along with Marian Hossa, who missed the last game. We'll see if Hossa returns to the lineup in their next game, and we'll see if the Hawks' depth can overcome this Patrick Sharp injury. Just one last point, Flyers from 1979-1980 won the conference, and they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals before losing to the New York Islanders, the very strong New York Islanders who won 4 straight cups to start the 80s. So we'll see what happens this year. Chicago is on their way to winning the Central Division, and they are on their way to winning the Western Conference Championship. They are 10 points ahead of second place. But, as history has shown, winning the conference does not necessarily guarantee playoff success. Am I right, Vancouver?